Welcome to Faith and Freedom. For the next few minutes, we hope to inform, inspire, and encourage you as we discuss legal victories and challenges to your fundamental freedom and religious liberties. Faith and Freedom comes to you from Liberty Counsel, a civil liberties education and legal defense organization. Join us now as Mat Staver, founder and chairman of Liberty Counsel, explains the latest legal issues all across this country. In the courtrooms of America, Liberty Counsel is winning the battle for your constitutional freedom.
Religious liberty in the public school, there are pros and cons. There are certain schools that are advancing religious liberty, and unfortunately, there are some schools that are stifling religious liberty. Hi, I'm Mat Staver, founder and chairman of Liberty Counsel. Joining me is Matt Barber, vice president of Liberty Counsel Action. Matt, the first story we want to talk about comes from liberal Kansas. It actually suggests that liberal has a different meaning in this Kansas town because obviously they're not liberal in terms of their politics. The Kansas school board there in liberal voted unanimously to allow student-led prayer at school functions, restoring a practice that had been discontinued due to fear of appearing to endorse a particular religion. And this is a situation where students will have the opportunity to be able to have the same expression that any other student has in any other venue.
Well, and kudos to the school board in liberal Kansas for doing this. It's an outward show, essentially, of support for a non-negotiable right that's guaranteed to students in the First Amendment. So I'm glad that they voted to allow student-led prayer in the public schools there. But all they've done is voted to recognize a right that already exists for students to pray in public schools. Student-led prayer has been upheld in the courts time and time again as certainly a clear constitutional First Amendment right guaranteed to students. They don't leave their constitutional rights at the schoolhouse door.
They don't. In fact, I was involved in a case down in West Monroe, Louisiana, a number of years ago where we were defending a school board that was actually sued because the students were having prayer over the intercom system. They were giving prayer in the morning on occasion, just like other students would have other secular inspirational messages or talks about their club. We defended the school there. The interesting thing is that because of the attention that brought to the issue of prayer, the pastors and churches came together in unison in that community. And even now, there is a regular, and this is years ago, a regular pastors meeting that gathers for the specific purpose of prayer. A lot of times you don't realize what you have until it's threatened with loss. And in that particular case, they realized how much they had taken prayer for granted, and it wasn't just some perfunctory thing. You know, what we see happening here in America is groups like the ACLU, and we'll talk about one of their cases here recently, are trying to remove those founding principles that have been part of America from the very beginning.
Well, and you mentioned another case. We're going to contrast and compare this situation in liberal Kansas versus a case out of, I think, Ohio. But the reality is that when school districts, when municipalities, when individual citizens align and partner with groups like Liberty Counsel and stand up for their First Amendment freedoms and call the bluff of groups like the ACLU, the Freedom from Religion Foundation, People for the American Way, and all these other radical anti-theist organizations, well, they're paper tigers. When you call their bluff and stand up to their bullying, ultimately 9 times out of 10, and that's about our record against the ACLU, over a 90% win record against the American Civil Liberties Union. When they call their bluff, they win.
Well, I applaud the school board. It was a unanimous vote in liberal Kansas because now they're going to allow and recognize a right that already exists, as you mentioned. That is that students have a right to be able to engage in religious viewpoints and speech, which includes prayer at any of the functions that these students are otherwise participating in. Just like anyone else can have an inspirational poem, these students can also have the right to be able to pray. That's a student's right. And in fact, there is an affirmation that schools around the country have to do by October 1, and then the state Department of Education has to certify by November 1 that the schools are in compliance with this federal regulation that says schools cannot interfere with or stop student-led religious speech on campus, which includes prayer. And if you violate that, you can also potentially lose your federal funding. So this is part of a guideline that came together And it came out of a lot of different organizations coming together and saying this is what the law is. And these were not just right-wing organizations, conservative organizations. These were groups from both sides of the aisle. As a result, the guidelines were actually promulgated under the presidency of Bill Clinton.
Yeah. But what happens when a school board or a school district caves under the pressure of the American Civil Liberties Union? We were talking off air about a case in Ohio.
Yeah, in fact, that's what we see in Ohio. We got an Ohio school district now paying $95,000 to the ACLU to settle a lawsuit. And this is about a picture of Jesus that is part of a Hall of Honor. In fact, the photographs have this Hall of Honor, and there's photographs of multiple individuals honoring them. The picture of Jesus is in that same area. It's not on the actual Hall of Honor. It is beside the Hall of Honor, and it has been there since the 1940s with no complaint. Obviously, since that time, it had not established a religion. The Jackson City School District, located in Jackson, Ohio, was sued by the ACLU and the Wisconsin-based Freedom from Religion Foundation. And as a result, they decided, well, they're going to pay $95,000 and remove this picture of Jesus from the Hall of Honor.
Yeah. And of course, we're not talking about, Matt, a shrine to Christ where we're talking about a picture of Jesus alongside other, persons, historical figures that are being honored in this along this Hall of Honor here. So again, I would encourage people listening right now, if your school board is in a situation like this, it can cost the taxpayers $95,000 to cave under the pressure of the ACLU when they have the Constitution on their rights. Contact Liberty Counsel. Let us know the situation. We will advise you of your actual constitutional rights, and it can save you, nearly $100,000.
Yeah, this particular picture has been there since 1947, and it recognizes in the Hall of Honor great historical figures. And I haven't counted all of them on this Hall of Honor, but there are quite a few. They're listed there, photographs of all these different people. Obviously, Jesus is a significant historical figure, more significant than any of the others that are there. Obviously, a world religion, Christianity, came as a result of Jesus.
We gauge our time.
Yeah, we have our
year.
BC and AD. I mean, who else has world time divided based upon when they were born?
Yeah.
And Christianity has had a huge impact worldwide and continues to have a huge impact, more than any of the other people that are listed in the Hall of Honor. So obviously, as a historical figure alone, Jesus ought to be a picture in this Hall of Honor.
Well, but the ACLU, the Freedom from Religion Foundation, and the like, they have a specific agenda. They have taken, twisted, and perverted the Establishment Clause of the U.S. Constitution to mean that there can be no public expression of a religious faith or even any reference to religious figures that might tangentially be religious figures. Here, Christ is both historical and obviously a religious Christian figure. He's the founder of the church, the creator of the universe. But the reality is they want to push out any reference to religion. Particularly, you'll notice, you don't see them doing this with the Muslim faith. In fact, they'll get behind the Muslims and their right to push the Quran and teaching of the Quran and so forth in schools across the country. We've seen that. It's Christianity that they have this hostility toward.
No question about it. That's why it's important to not only know your rights, but also to be able to defend them when they're attacked. Go to Liberty Counsel's website. We have a number of resources to help you know your rights and our heritage and our history. First and foremost, I would recommend is David Barton's book, Original Intent. That book overviews the history of America, our founding documents. It is a book that I think is a must-read, should be in every person's library that wants to know a little bit about the founding of America. You'll be amazed. David Barton's book, Original Intent. You can also get on Liberty Counsel's website the New England Primer. That was a textbook that was used in American public schools for nearly 200 years, up to the early 1900s, where they taught the alphabet, the ABCs, and also the Lord's Prayer, the Apostles' Creed, and many other things of a religious nature taught right beside our general alphabet and grammar studies in the public schools. That's the book, The New England Primer. I would encourage you to read it with your friends and family and your children and also with your Sunday school class as well. And then we have the Patriots Handbook series, one of which is dealing with religious liberty in the public schools. Last year, we sent out this particular book to nearly 100,000 school principals all over the country. Every school principal in America received one. Go to Liberty Counsel's website for these and other resources. And also, you can make an online contribution right there from the lc.org website. That's lc.org. Or for more information, call 800-671-1776.
You have been listening to Faith and Freedom with Liberty Counsel. We hope that we have motivated you to stand up for your faith, family, and freedom. We can accomplish a lot when we work together. Get informed and get involved today. Sign up for our free monthly newsletter, The Liberator. We will send it out to you free of charge. Stay informed with our Liberty Alert email updates. Just click on the website at www.lc.org or call us at 1-800-671-1776. Tune in next time to learn more about your rights right here on Faith and Freedom.